What's going on, my people, and welcome back to Isrock's Movie Reviews. And today we're going to be discussing an interesting movie. It's called Always and Forever, back from 2020. And actually, I just recently saw the movie. I was intrigued, and I got tired this past week of watching Netflix, Hulu, HBO stuff. And I decided to just go through the channels. And I stood on BET for a while, and I got to see this movie, Always and Forever. And I was intrigued by the characters. You know, we have Loretta Devine, Wood Harris, and I was like, okay, this might be a good movie. So nonetheless, I watched it. And this is one of those movies where also directed by Chris Stokes and Marcus Houston has some involvement with the movie as well. And it was one of those movies, I want to start off by saying it had a lot of potential. A lot of the elements of the movie aren't anything you see in any other movies, but I felt like this movie could have been better than what it was. The movie does have some good elements, but there are a lot of elements that fall flat. And I'm going to give you my 10 elements in this review. But starting off, I would say A for effort. However, it doesn't appear that Chris Stokes, put as much effort into the script as he did the clothes, the hair, the scenery, etc. Here we have the stereotypical characters in another slick movie on BET. All beautiful, thin, shapely. You got muscular men, apparently super successful with a lot of money to burn. Beautiful houses, beautiful cars, and nothing wrong with that. But come on, you want things like that in a film, and you want to utilize those the best way you can in order to enhance the film. And when you look at the houses and cars, you're like, okay, this movie is going to be one of those movies where it's going to be more eye candy than substance, right? But as we're going on with this movie is super slow and drags from the very beginning. There's bad dialogue and even, I'm not going to say too bad acting, but the acting could have been a little better. You have the wonderful Loretta Devine, like I mentioned, and Wood Harris, who are definitely miscasted as Brian's mother and Detective Turner, respectively. And the dynamics between the characters are not only predictable, but they're so lazy and overdone. Man, I was really disappointed with this movie throughout the first half hour. I was like, wow. This movie got me for a bit and then completely lost me because of the crazy loopholes that are all over the place, the weird plot lines, the unnecessary attempts at suspense that are pretty much laughable. The Ali plays the music in the movie. There's an uncomfortable silence. People don't talk like this at all, the way the movie portrays certain scenes. And don't get me started on the flashback scenes, man. It confuses the hell out of you. There's no continuation with certain scenes. There's a strange pacing throughout the film and just plain weird setups. You could tell he tried to film this movie like he was filming a music video, and it did not sit well. There's a character named Nicole who's talking to another character named Brandy in one scene, but she's shown in the next scene dead due to an apparent overdose all of a sudden. You're like, huh? Murders happen, but the audience doesn't even see them. They're an afterthought. All you get is the aftermath. And I could go on with that. But I told you I had a lot of issues with this, and I'm going to give you a list. Because a movie like this, man, I really wanted to like it. I really did. Although it wasn't that bad. But after giving you this list of my issues, you're going to be like, wow. It might be a movie that at the end of this review you might want to see. Or you'll be like, you know what, thanks, because, I saw this and commercial or the previews look enticing, but might be a waste, right? So here's my list of issues with this movie. I definitely had to shorten this, otherwise could have been 10 pages long, honestly, right? But one, the beginning scene at the camp, we get no details. We get no history of these four women. We get no introduction to these characters. Who the heck are these people? Like, we don't even know about them. We can't get invested in them because we have no backstory. And what's funny is they show these camp scenes, but where are the camp counselors? You know, I know they're not there by themselves, are they? Weird. Two, Nicole's a lawyer, the main character, yet she won't have a conversation with her husband, who she thinks is cheating on her. Talking is part of her profession, for goodness sake, right? Really? Sometimes you're a lawyer. They tell everyone they have this wonderful relationship, yet they apparently have no communication on what really matters in their relationship. And that leaves me speechless. You know, yeah, I understand there's going to be couples who, you know, lie about their relationship, or couples that look like the perfect couple in front of other couples. But they take it a little too far in this one. Oh, and he leaves her about several times in the film to go on a business trip after a break-in, apparently. Yeah. And even after she expresses her fear of being alone, come on, lawyer. Ding, 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 ding. There's a red flag there. He still manages to still go on business trips after your house was burglarized. To me, right there, that not only fucked up the movie, but I already saw what was coming. Everything was pretty much hand-fed to you. It was like, oh, you don't know what's next, by the way. Here you go. Oh, no, that can't, yep. No, I hated that. Number three, you know, why is Detective Tucker interviewing Brian, the husband, after Brandy's death, as if he knew her or had a connection to her? I found that weird. Detective is just getting on the scene, and all of a sudden the movie, you could tell that way it was rushed. There was nothing was layered out. You're a detective. Do some detective work. Five, again, weird flashbacks inserted at the most oddest times. Whenever there was a time that was supposed to be kind of positive, or a flashback where she's having a good conversation with her friend and then a fucked up scene comes on. How is that relatable to the scene that's actually going on or taking place? How does it further the storyline? What are the motives behind that? They don't tell you. It gets frustrating. Another one is in the movie, her house is huge. For a criminal lawyer, her husband, I didn't care enough to remember the profession, but I'm just saying, geez, can someone say overkill to that scenery? Like, there's only two people. You can't live in a fucking house that big for no apparent reason. And then on top of that, throughout the movie, it gets burglarized. It's like, how? With all the technology and like I tell you, the loopholes in this movie just keep coming on. And again, let me mention, Nicole's a lawyer. So she's arrested after Summer's death, one of her friends, that was in her house, and she willingly answers these questions without being read her Miranda rights. And she does this for a living. She's a lawyer. I just had to keep silent. I was like, no, so nothing can be used against you, remember? Are you really a lawyer in this movie? Or it just, Nicole's friend dies in their home, yet she's more distraught. She's not distraught. It's like life goes on, I guess. It's supposed to be your best friend. from the kid. She dies and you're like, nothing. I don't know if that was written into the script. I don't know if that was her acting, but I've seen this lady in a few things, and she's a great actress, pretty good actress. So, and before I keep going on, man, lastly, I'm gonna put, look, they tortured Peter as kids, yet revenge took this long. Look, this is just a spoiler. A spoiler for those who just want to get the review over with. Spoiler alert, just in case you actually do want to see this movie. They tortured Peter as kids, these 4 girls, right, from the camp, and while they were younger, yet revenge took this long. You know, why not try to revenge the tortured person as teenagers? And why just the girls and not the boys? You know, he was bullied by both. Was there anyone who didn't figure out Brian was Peter? After the page revelation? And why the weird voice all of a sudden? You know, he waited 4 years after marriage to finally snap. That was a plot convenience for me. Okay, and the end scene, too much to even write. But Detective Turner going out alone to find Nicole with no backup. And Nicole could still fight back after being punched and thrown like a rag doll. This movie was pure tomfoolery, which pretty much sums up this movie. It's one of those movies that you want to see last minute if you got nothing else to see. This movie wasn't as bad like I'm making out, but this movie is just for eye candy, honestly. For the men, you're gonna enjoy this. Lauren London is actually one of the characters in this movie. There's too many plot holes here to even describe. This movie is extremely predictable. I figured it out within 5 minutes, maybe 15, 20 minutes into the film. And the story was all over the place. You know, there are numerous unexplained, unrealistic events that happen throughout the movie. You know, how do you not recognize someone you knew and played with, picked on for like 10 to 15 years, and all of a sudden you marry them? Why wouldn't certain info about someone's family ever be mentioned? I wanted to enjoy this film very bad.